We can haul anywhere from 1 to 8 horses in this truck, and they stand in the stalls, and they're usually accompanied by an attendant or a groom. They go over to the races, they race, they cool out, put them back in the truck, and we bring them back to Belmont Park. Driving horses is a little bit different than driving freight, because actually they're standing, and when the truck moves, they move, and it's sort of like being on a bus. We're standing up on a bus. We got to be really careful about the ways that we stop the trucks. We just can't come to a hard halt. If somebody pulls out in front of us, we got to anticipate that. I really think that's probably the hardest thing about this job, is the anticipation that something's going to go wrong. And it may not never come, but you always got to be ready for it. And I'm a good driver. I'm a very good driver, but I think the whole aspect of me being a driver is that I'm a safe driver. When I drive out there, I got to drive for everybody. All the cars that are around me, I got to anticipate what they're doing. And when you drive in New York, you can never really get that right, but I've done it, and that's probably the best reason to be safe, is you got lives in the back of your trucks. Okay. What do you got there? That's good enough.
Stop.
Okay, and the years I've gone driving over the road, I'm gonna get a little bit closer. This is New York. This is pretty noisy around. A little bit closer. Hi. I think that over the years I've gotten into a couple of situations. One night I was driving through the Carolinas going to Florida from here, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning when I noticed lights up in the skies, and I didn't really think too much of it until about another mile ahead of me. I got another mile, and there was a car that was flipped over in the ditch, and there was a guy waving at us. I stopped the truck, I got out, see if I could be some kind of assistance, and he's yelling, "Find the baby, find the baby." I didn't know what he meant by that, but there was 3 occupants in a Jeep, and it had flipped over and threw one occupant in a puddle of water with a compound fracture in his legs, and the guy is still yelling, "Where's the baby, where's the baby?" And there was a woman in a tree. She was tangled up in the tree, and this guy's still running around, "Where's the baby, where's the baby?" And I started figuring out, or I saw a child seat in the car, and there was no baby in it, and I went to looking around, and I stepped upon, I came up to what I thought was a doll, and it was actually a little baby, and I looked at it, and this is, I don't know what to do from here, and the baby opened up his eyes and saw a big hairy guy looking at her, and she let out a scream, wiggled her legs. I picked her up and got her away, and that Jeep fell back onto its right side. That baby wouldn't be here. I just got out of there, and that's probably the most heroic thing I've ever done. Once, when I was driving through Boise, Idaho, the truck broke down, and they weren't able to repair it that day, so I went out looking for a beer. And I was walking down the street minding my own business when a guy jumped out of a car wearing a suit and said, "Hey, come here." And that usually means he's going to show a badge, which he did. And he says, "Where are you coming from?" And I said, "Well, I'm coming from Seattle." He says, "Really?" And I says, "Yeah, I'm a truck driver." And he says, "Oh, you really?" And he says, "Yeah, you can take me over to the truck stop. My truck's over there, and I can show you my logbook. I got receipts. I got all kinds of good stuff that says I was in Seattle last night." He says, "All right, well, I believe you. I believe you." He says, "Where are you from?" And I says, "San Diego." And he says, "Well, this sounds like you're from New York." And he says, "Well, obviously." And he says, "Well, we don't get too many murders up here, but you might get a kick out of this." And he pulled out a composite sketch, and it looked just like me. It's also on the front page of the Idaho Times, or whatever the newspaper is there. So every time that I walked into a building or walked into a store, they all gave me an envelope.